You've been talking about moving, but you're not. And it's fear that's getting in your way. And this fear that is blocking you is something that I'm hearing women say out loud. And some of it we're holding in because we're almost embarrassed. We're almost embarrassed to be living a life that we're dreaming. And I want to say that so many things have already happened already in your life. I don't know you face to face, but I am you. I'm you. I have lived my life for so many people for over, I don't know, 30, 40 years. You know, I was making sure that I was a good Christian. I want to be a good wife. I want to be a good mother. I went to work and make sure I was a great employee. We were always making sure that we were great for everyone else. And now it's time for us to be great for ourselves. And in doing that, we start to wonder, do we deserve it? And we stop. And we want to make sure we plug in every hole perfectly before we do something for ourselves. Yeah, I know you're afraid, but that fear shows up in so many different ways and it's delaying your move. But you're also using that fear. You're also using excuses to cover the fear. That's what I want to say. You're using excuses of your family. You're using excuses of money to cover up the fear. So these are some of the things I hear you say. I hear women, Black women particularly, say I'm not ready to move just yet, or I can't relocate just yet because I need to retire. And I don't know if that's necessarily true. It could be, right? You know, you're waiting for those last 3 years so you can have your highest earnings. But did you know nearly 60% of people are forced to retire early? Nearly 60% of people do not retire when they plan to. A lot of people plan to retire 65, 70, but most people retire at 62, not because they wanted to, because either they had aging parents and now they became the caregiver, or their job let them go because of restructuring, or their own health failed them and they were no longer able to work. And so this ideal of that we have to wait to this magical number, I hear it around Social Security. I'm going to wait till I'm 70. I hear it around retirement. I'm going to wait till I'm 65. But I want you to think about your own life and how many things that you thought were going to happen a particular way and it didn't. And sometimes we have regret as a result of it. I don't want you to have regret about this move. So stop waiting for the perfect time. And so if you're waiting for yourself to retire, ask yourself why. I'm not telling you to retire now, but I want you to know why you're waiting. And I want you to ask yourself, is it worth the wait? How much more money are you really going to get? I don't know. Those last 3 years that you're waiting for your highest income so you can get your pension from your job, how much more is that going to be? That's why it's so important for you to know your numbers. So if you haven't already, download our Freedom Fund checklist. It's in my bio. And so you can know your numbers. So you can know if you should retire already. And some people think I can't leave because that's just being too extravagant. It's overindulging. How dare I try to leave this country and live my life somewhere else and enjoy myself? You're not going on vacation. You're relocating. And I would want to say, I dare to say, most of you do not live in your first home. You probably has relocated before. You might have moved from one home to the next and you've upgraded, right? So you don't live in that same apartment from college or your first marital home. You probably have moved to something different and you upgraded. So why couldn't you not upgrade outside the US? Why not? That's not overindulgence. That's making a smart choice for you. That is you finally exhaling. And girl, I know you deserve it. because you have been living your life for everyone else. Guilty as charged. And so I want you to have that. And the other thing that I keep hearing people, and I call them fears, but these are just kind of excuses wrapped in fear, is that I'm fear I'm going to run out of money. And I don't know how much you have. And I know Black women only have, most of the time, have $30,000 in the bank when we retire. But I do know this. I know that we could find ways to fill those gaps. And I'm going to make another video to talk about how to fill those income gaps. But we'll never fill those income gaps if we don't make a decision that we need to fill them so we can go. If we're waiting to fill them while we're sitting at home and have that perfect number, it won't happen, because everything else is going to be taking that money. It's going to be seeping out. Everyone else is going to have an emergency, and we're going to be pulling into our money that we have saved for us to move to help someone out in their emergency. And so once you move and shift, your money is all for you doing that thing. But while you're home, everyone has an emergency, and there we are, ready to help them. And so, yeah, you may need to boost your income a little bit more. So this way, once you don't have your current salary, then you need something to supplement that. Yeah. And that's what we talk about in our Bougie Expat Collective. We talk about different ways to earn income so women can actually still live well. I am all about living well. I'm not interested in the struggle bus. I don't want it ever to come to my stop. And so I don't want it coming to your stop either. So yes, living well is very important. The other thing I hear people talk about is that's delaying their move. It's not the perfect time. And I don't know when the perfect time is for you, but I would want to say this. The perfect time is when you write the date down, not when you wait for all the things to get lined up. Because we're waiting for, I hear it all the time. I'm waiting for this person to graduate. I'm waiting for my aging parents, this to happen. I'm waiting for boo-boo to, get their funds together. Some people will never get their life together. But what you could do is create a date and structure around all the support these people need who are leaning on you. And so this way you can go ahead and relocate. So you can move if you understand the structure that they would need to support them when you're not around to be that support, then you can probably move. But you have to put that structure in place. But before even that, you have to be willing to put that structure in place. So I want to ask you, have there not been things that happened to you unexpectedly that you were not ready for? A divorce, a termination, or a layoff, or some big expense in your home? You weren't ready for that, and you managed that. And the same thing in their lives. They may not be ready for it, but they'll find a way to manage it. And you can also help them manage it. And so one of the things you want to start doing is having communications with everyone else that is around you, who you support, to let them know, hey, by the way, I am going to be leaving this country on X date. And so therefore, I will no longer be able to babysit for you on Tuesdays. Please start looking for another babysitter. Hey, by the way, I'm about to leave this country. And so what I need you to do is realize I no longer can be your financial support in this particular area. You may want to start thinking about ways to fill that gap. Hey, I may not be there for you in this capacity. And so you want to start helping people prepare. That's part of putting the structure in place. And this is a society of digital and there's so many things that you can put in place that you can support even from afar. I always tell people for the last 6 years, I have been doing food shopping for my mom. She lives in another state. I have not lived in the same state with her for, I don't know, God knows how many years, but I was still able to support her that way. Why? Instacart. That's right. Simple Instacart. There are so many things that we can do to support people even when we're not around. We don't always have to be there. And remember, when you are supporting them, you're still being responsible. So it's not irresponsible to move. The other thing I think that we kind of feel is guilt from going ahead and living this life that we want because other people can't do it. or they won't do it. I don't know why they don't do it. Maybe they don't want to. Maybe they can't. I don't know that. But what I do know is that if you want to do it and you set a date to do it, you can do it. And you doing it is also inspiration for them. When they look at your life and they see you moving forward, moving about this dream that you've been talking about, they're inspired. They're thinking, hey, maybe I can also have my dream. Maybe also I can do the things that I wanted to do. You become an influencer. You become inspirational and motivator by living out your dream. But when you're still stuck in that same spot with everybody else, talking about it, talking about it, talking about it, you're not really helping them. So moving out also kinds of help them. Think about it from that way. How can I help other people? Sometimes moving away, allowing them to be on their 2 feet, that they just, and not literally, but allowing them to take control over some of the things that they can take control, and also using you as inspiration of doing hard things. Because relocating is hard, but it is very doable. You can do it. You've done so many hard things. Another thing I see people doing is investigating every single country. Oh my gosh. They've gone on relocation trip after relocation trip after relocation trip. That is just delaying what they really want. So they feel like they're making progress, but most of the time they're not even sure what they're looking for. They're just going from one country to the next. Also, they're not even going on real relocation trips. They're just going on vacations. So they're not really finding out and answering real questions on that trip about the locations that they're going to. They're not really finding out the things that they need to know: safety, cost of living, style of living. They're not finding those things out: housing, transportation. They're just hanging out at the beach, going to really cool restaurants. I don't want that to be you. I want you to know where you're going and why you're going. And if you're going to take a visit to any country that you're thinking about, I want you to go with purpose. I want you to go with intent, because we use these trips, 3-4 trips a year, as supposed to be planning exercises, but really they're just procrastination exercises. But I want you to say this as well. Those trips cost money. And as you're saying that, I don't have money to move, perhaps maybe if you had a clear plan on why and where you want to go, then you wouldn't have to take so many trips, and that money could be used towards your leaving. It could be used towards paying down debt. A lot of people want to pay their debt down. It could be used towards investing. It could be used towards starting up a business. So I want you to kind of think about all of that. That is why the first thing that we do with our clients is help them figure out their why and their lifestyle. And so then we can start talking about countries. We don't even talk about countries first. We talk about the why and the lifestyle that they want to live on, and the budget and the income sources that they have coming in. Then we could talk about countries. So now we have narrowed down the countries, and they're not bopping all over the globe looking for a place to live. They are totally focused. And I want that for you as well. I want your trips to be focused. And then as you make these trips, I don't want you choosing a country because it's cheap. I want you choosing a country because the criteria that you have, this country matches. Cheap is not always cheap. And cheap doesn't always align with your values. Cheap doesn't always align with how you want to live. I have lived in several countries, and I'm telling you, all the countries I lived in, except for maybe one, is not are less expensive than where I'm living now. Yeah, there are. I can think about some countries that I've lived in where the rent of what I'm paying now was a year's rent. But you know what? I love those countries, but it's not where I wanted to spend my senior years, my mature years. I didn't want to spend it there. And so that's why I didn't move there. As much as I love the country, I love the vibe, I love the people, the vision I had for my life when I became in my senior days didn't match that country. So I want that for you. I don't want you to choose your country just based on finances. I want you to think about how you want to live. That's why it's really important to have knowing all of that up front. So all your trips, your relocation trips that you do, they're done with purpose. These things I'm sharing with you is because I have been hearing these things over and over again from other women, just like you, Black women who want to move abroad. And you know what? I've said some of these things to myself as well. Remember, I'm the girl who had the 5-year plan. What was my 5-year plan? 5 years, I was going to retire and then I was going to move. But you know what? It didn't happen that way. And so I still moved. And it may not happen that way for you. Preparation is beautiful when we can. And when we can't, decision is even more awesome. Because when we decide when we want to go, when we want to go, where we want to go, how we want to live, then we prepare towards that. And that helps some of this uncertainty, this fear. We're talking about running out of money. We know where we're going. We create an income plan. We know what this country is about because we decided our lifestyle. That begins to take care of those fears. We're worried about our parents and our children. We put structures in place. Once you make a decision that you want to move, the structures will begin to align. You will begin to put those structures in place. Therefore, you will also begin to move. I want you to move. You want to move. I am giving you permission. If you thought you needed it, permission to move, permission to relocate, permission to live your wildest dreams. You deserve it. We have lived for everyone else. Do you know 1/3 of women support everybody else financially? 1/3 of women, that's what we're doing. And that's why it's so hard for us to achieve our dreams. When are you going to start living life for yourself? When are you going to start living your dreams? I hope it starts today. The best time was just today. The second best time is today. Begin to live your dreams. I'm Sable, your bougie girlfriend, and you continue to live an elevated life.